7. Barrett outside, the switch. Doncic goes
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. I hope you guys are doing well, and today I'm going to be evaluating the young talent on this New York Knicks roster. How good is this team moving forward when it comes to longevity-wise with this young talent, and what's the ceiling? Like, at the end of the day, we don't know the ceiling, though, of this young talent. You could evaluate a player, be like, oh, he's not athletic, so he may not have this high upside. But I feel like when you evaluate a player's work ethic also should be involved into their evaluation of how good they're going to be, especially when it comes to the pre-draft process. But it's not just about their stats. It's not just about playing them out there on the basketball floor. It's how the coaching staff is utilizing them, and if the coach believes in them. You see the best coaches in the league, or some of the best players in the league, one of the main reasons they're one of the best players in the league is because their coaches believe in them, but they also hold them accountable and put them in the position to be successful. Tom Thibodeau, for example, he might have started playing Cam Reddish, but was it just because of injuries, and was it just because the front office told him to play him, and he still wasn't really fully playing up throughout his strengths? Sometimes he was just standing in the corner. He didn't have constant movement in the offense at all. So it's hard to really tell the ceiling of a player when you're not playing them throughout the right strengths, or playing them throughout their strengths, and you're not really putting them in the position to succeed if you have this really bland playbook. And sorry if my hair looks a little crazy, got back from playing basketball with my friend like 30 minutes ago. But when you take a look at this young talent, the young talent on this Knicks roster, I really do think it's pretty solid. And we saw a lot of the young guys towards the end of the season. And you could say we got to see some young guys due to Nerlens Noel getting hurt, Randle eventually getting hurt, or Julius Randle not playing the best of basketball. So we saw RJ Barrett jump up to a higher level of just being utilized in the offense more, having the ball in his hands more. And obviously you don't want to see a player get hurt. Like, you wanted to see Noel ball out. You wanted to see Randle ball out. But if it wasn't for Randle playing not the greatest of basketball, playing up to his standards last year, I don't think we would have saw the progression of RJ Barrett. It's like a blessing and a curse, because obviously it really hurt the overall team when you pretty much only have one top option, because you need a number one and number two. Like, even though I don't look at Julius Randle as a number one, we don't know what RJ Barrett is yet, even though he showed a lot of progression. But you don't know if he's going to be a 1, 2, or 3 yet in the league. Like, a lot of people could say he's not the most athletic and he doesn't have this yet. But I feel like when it comes to evaluating a player, like, their work ethic should really be put into it as well. But starting off with RJ Barrett, I give RJ Barrett a B+, because there's a lot of adversity going on this season. The bad play of Julius Randle, RJ Barrett had to change his role completely. He was someone that really stood in the corner last year. He was more of a catch-and-shoot guy, which that's not his game at all. We were really treating him like we were utilizing him. It's already a vanilla offense, but he was probably one of the most vanilla players in the offense. At one point, we were putting Evan Fournier in the position to create more than an RJ Barrett. That sounds so crazy that we did that with the 3rd overall pick. And RJ Barrett, he just took a massive leap when it came to scoring the basketball, 20 points per game. We saw some flashes of new moves added in his bag, like that. It wasn't consistent, but that stop on a dime, looked like he's dribble penetrating, catches the defense on his heels, and does that turnaround shot. So we got to see more of that. I thought we saw a little more finesse around the rim. He averaged 20 points per game, but obviously the efficiency is the big thing. And you could look at both sides of the coin like, we don't have a point guard to put him in the position to be successful completely. We would freeze him out of the offense, so then he would have to be like, okay, I'm just going to force this shot. I kind of have no choice. I got frozen out of the offense. I need to somehow get into a rhythm once again. But then you could also take a look at it like he was forcing bad shots at times. Like, his shot selection has ways to go. He's inconsistent finishing at the rim. Sometimes you would shoot off the dribble when that's not his game yet. Like, I know at some point you're going to have to shoot off the dribble to really just get comfortable at some point. You could practice as much as possible, but if you're not actually doing it in the game yet, to really develop in that department, like, that's a big part of development, actually doing it in a game. But sometimes you would just miss wide open shots. So RJ Barrett obviously had a fantastic month at the beginning of the season. With Julius Randle, he was playing good basketball, he was efficient, which was awesome. And then he started to fall off a cliff when it was just awful. Any RJ Barrett fan, any Knicks fan has to admit, it wasn't just Julius Randle like dominating the ball and taking him out of the game, because he did show with Julius Randle at the very beginning of the season for like a month that he was playing good basketball, and just RJ Barrett was missing shots. His defense really did fall off a cliff this season. When you maybe maybe it's because of that ankle injury, because I thought he was moving pretty well on the defense side of the basketball last year, and he moved pretty well at the beginning of the season. But his defense did fall off a cliff. He does need to take a huge leap next year or next season. He needs to have it if he wants to be that top option of shooting off the dribble. There were several times this season that he tried to do a step back three, brick, arrow ball. He did show some flashes of making it. He did average 20 points per game, which is freaking amazing, but it was on 40.8% shooting, 34% from three, 34% from three, and someone that really takes pride in driving to the basket and being physical. You need to knock down better. You have to knock down your free throws more. He didn't even shoot at a 75% clip. That's pretty unacceptable. And yeah, you finished as not a great finisher in the lane. Like, he has shown times that he could be a fantastic finisher, and then he has shown times that it's like, yikes, what was that? Like, it seems like he finishes better in traffic sometimes than like a gimme at the rim. But he seemed a lot more confident. He was in his role. We know he's a volume guy. He's going to take a lot of shots. We saw that at Duke. I'm not going to bring up high school, but we saw that at Duke his 1 year there. 1 year there as a freshman. The big thing was, like, is he going to help win games? Is he going to take the ball out of other guys' hands? But RJ Barrett has shown that he could be clutch down the stretch of games. He's not afraid. He's a hard worker. His handle does need to get better, though. But we saw that he's progressed as a playmaker. He thrives in the pick and roll with Mitchell Robinson. He's not that black hole guy like he kind of was his rookie year of not really recognizing guys. Same thing at Duke. He would show flashes, but it wouldn't be consistent. We've started to see more balanced games of scoring the ball and distributing the ball instead of just having this focus to score. But I give RJ Barrett a B+. He helped us win games without Julius Randle. I thought the ball moved a lot better. He stepped in as a good leader. He was unselfish. He loved seeing other guys thrive. B+ for sure. What's holding him back from being an A? You could even give him just a B or a B. You can give him just a B or B- also, because the efficiency and his defense fell off. But just due to the adversity and the role he stepped in and just really overcoming adversity, you got to be proud of RJ for that. So now you have Obi Toppin, and Obi Toppin's one of the hardest players to evaluate. I give him a B- because he's so limited. It's so hard for Obi Toppin to get into any type of rhythm. Again, Taj Gibson played more minutes than freaking Obi Toppin, which is unacceptable. Taj Gibson may not even be in the league in a couple years, or he may not even be back next season. We'll see what goes on to happen. Like, he may literally be on a coaching staff. We took this dude 8th overall. You have Julius Randle ahead of him. He played fantastic basketball last year. And when Obi Toppin would be in the game, like, we already have this vanilla offense. You need to have Obi cutting. You have to get out and run. And Tom Thibodeau's a very slow, grinded out style of play type of coach. And just, like, he's just put in the position. He's out there 8 minutes, and those 8 minutes, he's attempting 1 or 2 threes. And he's just standing in the corner. He's a solid three-point shooter, where he has potential to be a solid three-point shooter. We didn't see the consistency. It's because when you have someone in a role to shoot the basketball and you put them out there for only a few minutes, you can't expect them to get into any type of rhythm. And he's not even known as a shooter. He's not even known as a catch-and-shoot guy. It's hard for anyone to get into any type of rhythm like that. So his confidence was really shook. But then when you would see him actually get an opportunity, and when you saw Emmanuel Quickley and Obi play more, like, that's the main thing. When Quickley and Obi were together, they were playing at the right pace. They were playing throughout their strengths. And maybe you could say that wasn't because of Tibbs. That was because of Quickley knows Obi, and Obi knows Quickley's game. That type of thing. But when Obi did get minutes, he thrived. But you also have to keep in mind the defenses weren't keyed in on him. He wasn't really a big part of the scouting report because he wasn't getting many minutes. But when he was out there, you saw how much the ball movement changed. It wasn't a bunch of isolation situation with Julius Randle. And when he did start, again, he didn't start many games, and it was kind of when it didn't matter. And you could say a lot of players were going off at the end of the season, especially that last game. Even though he had 42 points, there were so many players that went off. And again, defenses weren't keyed in on him, and there wasn't really like a bunch of the Raptors' healthy players playing, or the Raptors, all of their starters playing, even though we saw OG Anunoby and Malachi Flynn, some solid players out there. But you saw his confidence go up shooting the basketball towards the end of the season, even when it did matter. But we're hitting him in transition. He was cutting more. His defense still has ways to go. That's the reason why his grade is low. Sometimes he could be a little too upright, but he's an underrated passer of the basketball. We even saw some moves off the dribble. We saw fall-away mid-range shots. Like, Obi Toppin's a very talented player, but it's all about his confidence. And maybe that is a concern, that some players are confident no matter what. They're just ready to go no matter what. I'm not saying Obi's not ready to go all the time, but some people just have confidence no matter what. Is it kind of a concern that Obi only has confidence when there's no one watching over his shoulder, when there's no Julius Randle? But apparently reports have come out, like, by Mark Berman, that he's starting to, like, Tom Thibodeau is starting to trust Obi Toppin more, and that, like, it's Mark Berman, who knows? that, like, he's looking back and regretting not playing Obi Toppin as much, but he's constantly moving. This dude just runs like a gazelle out there on the floor. You got to be happy with the progression of Obi Toppin, just off the dribble, just finesse around the basket. We know he's a freak athlete, between the leg dunks, and obviously we saw that he has offensive potential. Yes, you could say the game didn't really matter at the end of the season because a lot of players went off and the Raptors didn't play all their starters, but it's still over 40 points. That's pretty impressive. But he needs to get better backing down guys. His post game needs to get a lot better. It really does. Sometimes he can't even back down guard, so he needs to become more versatile of an offensive player. His defense needs to improve. Yeah, he's a lot to work on, but again, maybe he would get better at those things if he was put out there on the floor more. But yeah, sometimes you just can't back down guards, which is unacceptable. Next up, we have Emmanuel Quickley, and I give him a C+. Quickley, I feel like Quickley got a good amount of minutes this season. There's no, like, I wouldn't really say there was anything restricted with Quickley. Maybe sometimes some guys like to say Quickley is a true point guard. I still think he's a tweener. He could play both. He's a point guard and a shooting guard. But at the beginning of the season, for the first few months or couple months, like, he was bad. Like, there was no excuses at all. Like, there's literally no excuses. Quickley, his floater wasn't falling. It seemed like defenses were keyed in and they adjusted to his floater. He had to pretty much relearn how to draw fouls. He was looking to draw fouls too much. His shot just wasn't going down. You could say it was a sophomore slump and all that, but he just wasn't playing good basketball. He was rushing shots early in the shot clock, picking up his dribble too early. Like, he just didn't look good. He really didn't. But the reason it went up to a C+, and the reason it's only a C+, is because that he was really bad at the beginning of the season. His defense wasn't even great. It was really inconsistent, but then you saw in the second half of the season, since All-Star break, he started to score the basketball a lot better. He got better drawing fouls. His three-point shot started to fall. He was able to just figure out other ways to finish around the basket. He started to play at a better pace. He wasn't always forcing shots early in the shot clock. He really progressed as a playmaker, which is definitely showing promise of maybe being a point guard down the line. But we know he's a great work ethic. He built that chemistry with Obi. Sometimes he does need to do a better job just making the right read. Sometimes you'd force it into traffic when there's an RJ wide open or a Quentin Grimes wide open, just anyone open out there on the floor. So sometimes he does have inconsistent eyes, and don't expect him to be Alonzo or Tyrese Halliburton that he could fit passes into tiny windows, but it looks like there's more finesse of these one-handed swing passes at times we didn't see last year. But Quickley has proven to be one of our most clutch players in the fourth quarter. He's mentally tough. He's gotten a little stronger, and I expect him to be even better next year and become more efficient as a basketball player. We know he's a good free throw shooter, but he needs to add a mid-range shot. He needs to do, like, I just feel like he has to become more of a versatile offensive player. And now, next up, we have Mitchell Robinson. So, Mitchell Robinson, he's interesting. Knicks fans either love him or they hate him. I give him a B- because right now it looks like Mitchell Robinson he's just what he is. The reason what's holding him back from being higher, I would have given him like a B+ or maybe even an A- if he showed us any type of hook shot this season. He didn't show us any hook shot at all. Like, maybe once or twice or a few times he showed us a drop step in the post, but he hasn't added a post game. He hasn't added a hook shot, which is one of the main reasons Knicks fans do find him expendable, because we don't have that versatile scorer off the bounce. You can't afford maybe to have an old school type of big. Like, the best teams can get away with having these old school types of bigs because they have versatile scores of the basketball. But Mitchell Robinson, the reason why he's a B- and not lower is because he actually proved to stay healthy. He played over 70 games. He was more disciplined on the defense side of the basketball. Yes, he was kind of out of shape at the beginning of the season, but he got stronger. I wish he figured out ways to utilize that strength more. But we know he's capable of just rolling to the basket and finishing. There's not much talk about Mitchell Robinson. He's still a very poor free throw shooter. Let's just say he was he was just a solid player. He is what he is, but he did it at a higher level this year. I believe this is the most rebounds he's averaged in his career per game. His stats don't really pop off at you at the pay, the stats don't really pop out at you, but he still impacted the game, I thought, at a really high level. We see times that he could still guard the perimeter. We see how he could defend inside. There's still moments he does get into foul trouble, but if you just look at his rookie year compared to now, he's really progressed in just his overall discipline. From a discipline standpoint, his leaping ability is still there. I don't understand people that say he's not as athletic as he used to be. Like, I really don't understand that. When he's in the dunker spot, it's just unbelievable. He could just jam over people with second jumps. Unbelievable. I believe he was third in the league in offensive rebounds. He did a great job giving us second chance opportunities. Maybe you'd like to see him get better when he's in the inside and just learn to pass it out more, add a hook shot. We'll see if he's back next year, though. We'll see. But I thought he was pretty solid, and I don't think he was bad. I don't. I thought he was pretty solid. Next up, you have Jericho Sims, and I give him an A-. Maybe it's because I feel like anyone should give him an A- or an A, because unless you're just looking at the player standpoint, but let's go with where we drafted him at 58. Maybe from like just a regular player standpoint, you could say he was a B- or a B. He was just an okay player. But for where we drafted him, 58th overall, most of the time when you draft someone 58th overall, they're either overseas right now in the G League, not getting any playing time. And this is someone that we really wanted to see get playing time, but we eventually had no choice. Noel going down, all these injuries that happened, and Sims really did thrive. And Thibodeau likes Sims, and Sims brings us an element at the big man position that we don't really have. At least true center, you could say Taj is a tweener, a 4 and a 5. He's really transformed his position over the years from the Timberwolves and Chicago Bulls days. Jericho Sims, he's strong, physical. He knows how to set hard screens. Like Mitch, he needs to do a better job not just utilizing his athleticism on rebounds. Jericho Sims, he knows how to use his body and box out, which I was really impressed with Jericho Sims. Even in limited minutes, he did a great job rebounding the ball. And he really progressed throughout the season of getting out of foul trouble. So he's really learned. He's quiet, but he plays hard. He does little things out there on the floor. And maybe you'd like to see him communicate more, but I think he solidified himself as like maybe a solid backup big for us. We know he's a crazy vertical threat, big time lob threat. You can just throw it anywhere near the basket, he'll be able to get it. But again, he can block shots, he sets hard screens, does a great job positioning himself, rebounding. He's all about the team. He's not selfish at all. I really like what Jericho Sims brought in those limited minutes. Like, yes, maybe he needs to get better defending the pick and roll. Sometimes you can commit too much and then leave the rim wide open, but Sims A- I don't think is bad at all. By the way, Cam Reddish, I'm not giving him a grade because I feel like we barely saw anything of Cam Reddish. Like, we saw Cam Reddish, but we didn't see enough. Like, he got hurt. That's not his fault at all. Miles McBride, he's another one I'm not going to give a grade to. Actually, I'll cover Cam Reddish a little bit. He brings us an element we don't have of maybe consistent athleticism at the wing position. He has potential to be a solid defender. He's shown that he can be a good defender at the next level, or at least a solid one. He brings a shot creation. Can his shot be consistent? We don't know because Tibbs barely gives him any minutes. It's going to be a big time question mark, though, entering next season, though, because he's going to have to stay healthy or he may not be back because he's proven to be injury prone. But I hope he stays healthy and he continues to develop as a player because we need shot creation alongside RJ. We do. And he has that chemistry with RJ. But McBride, I didn't give him a grade. He played solid defense, but he just didn't play a lot. And you could say he didn't really play his role like he did at West Virginia. I know it's different in the NBA. You're not going to be the guy. He showed at times he could knock down the three-point shot, but he was mostly a catch-and-shoot guy. And again, the offense is so vanilla. So when Miles McBride works off of a screen and his shot isn't there, sometimes he has to force the shot because no one's cutting or moving. So he's kind of just stuck in a weird situation. But he's a lightning bug. This dude is just a pest on defense. He's a competitor. He's mentally tough. And most of these guys on this list are mentally tough. Now, let's get into Quinn Grimes. I give him a B+. He's someone I've been wanting for such a long time, and I don't mean Quinn Grimes. I mean a 3-and-D player. Yes, you don't always have to go after the high upside, sexy type of player like that has a chance to be a superstar. You could just get the guy who's ready coming out of the draft to be a solid basketball player. I don't know, being a 3-and-D player is like the recipe for success, in my opinion, in today's NBA. He's proven to be physical, strong on the defense side of the basketball as an on-ball defender. Obviously, he had that pop game versus the Bucks, 27 points. We got blown out, though I do understand that I had to watch back the film after that game because I was at work. But he's proven to be a very solid three-point shooter. Every time he shoots it, you think it's going in. He did have that slump towards the end of the season because he did go on to get hurt with that knee injury. It was a scare. I was like, please don't be an ACL. I know he's not a versatile shooter off the bounce, but for what he is, he's a very solid player, a 3-and-D guy. He just has a quick, lightning quick release, does a great job relocating. I really like what Grimes brought to the table. He gave us a lot of momentum in that Heat game. He's not afraid of the big moment at all. Mentally tough basketball player. But as a whole, this young core, I give a B-. I think the only thing holding back this young core is maybe a bunch of these guys, maybe a couple could be potential starters in this league. Like RJ Barrett, obviously we look at him as hopefully he's a future star. Grimes, I think he could be a solid starter. I don't know if he'll be a starter on this team because I think we need more versatility. We'll see what happens to Cam Reddish as well. But I think the only thing holding back this young core is maybe there's not a lot of potential stars. But let me know down below your thoughts on this young core moving forward. And as always, guys, have a humble day or night. Peace out, y'all.